PB&J. And there was like 3 or 4 games where they were just tearing up other teams because, when you have a top 2 lines like the Penguins, the third line is the most important line on any team because they're the ones going against the worst defensive pairing. They're the ones getting the matchups, and they should be able to take advantage of that. And that was happening. And then because of tweaks due to injuries and due to other things and trying to get other people started, that the wheels came off, and now the entire thing outside of Crosby and Gensel has been more or less a nightmare. And at this point, you only have 8 games left. Nothing. I have a hard time believing anything's going to be fixed in 8 games. If it hasn't been fixed yet, you either don't know what you're doing, you don't have the personnel, or you refuse to do it. And none of those are really good options. There's no magic spell that can really find a way to make Phil Kessel be able to put the puck in the net at even strength. There's no magic, to get Gino back to the Gino of old when, he would just take over games like he did, in 2009 against Carolina in the Eastern Conference Finals. Crosby is going to do what Crosby does, and that's going to give the Penguins a chance to win most nights. And, it's great that he is Gensel taking some of that off of him and helping out. But, it's just the team looks like they don't have an identity. And like I said, that's just not going to come together in 8 games, no matter how hard they want it to. And, of course, I'd be thrilled to be proven wrong. Malkin comes back and Mata comes back and, they're the, 2015-16 team and I've been proven wrong about everything. that would be more than okay in my book. But I don't see any way that ends up being the case.
It's kind of crazy that if they do want to succeed in the playoffs, they have to do it despite Malkin and Kessel. It's like they have to just put up with, okay, well, these guys aren't producing, they aren't scoring, and they're not doing much else, but hopefully we could work around that. And that's not, that's relying on a lot of other people.
Well, and here's the thing. The way the Penguins are set up, at no point should the offense ever be the problem. The Fords
exactly.
The Fords are the one thing the Penguins have going for it that is without issue, in my opinion. When they're healthy and when they're working even moderately, they're a good Ford system and they're good offensive team. If anything, goaltending had been shaky in past year. Not shaky. Shaky is not the right word. Not as strong as Penguin fans would like. And a lot of that, at least from my perspective, was bad defense last year. I thought Chris Letang played the worst playoffs of any defenseman last year. He made countless plays in that Capital series that drove me up a wall. And this year, if anything, I'd expect the Penguins' downfall to be their defense again, because they're skating. They're putting Jack Johnson in a uniform and sending him out there every night. And even though he's been fine, that still would have typically been my biggest concern. And I wrote about it not that long ago, but Matt Murray is standing on his head.
Yeah,
He's playing better hockey than Penguin fans could ask for right now. He really is, and he's making incredible saves. But he's also been playing more consistently in the last 10 plus games than he has at almost any point throughout his career. And the offense isn't getting it done. And it's like, come on. We finally pull up the one piece that we think is lagging, and then there goes the offense. The offense just drops right out. It's a million holes in the wall that's flooding.
Yeah. 4 goals in 3 games isn't going to cut it.
I mean, and it's not like the Flyers, the Hurricanes are defensive powerhouses either. I don't think I'll ever forgive the Penguins for 2013 and their 2-goal effort against the Bruins when they had Jerome McGinley and Brendan Morrow, and they went for it. And they scored 2 goals in the entire series against the Bruins. At least that Bruins team had Tuukka Rask in net, who was standing on his head, and one of the best defenses in the NHL at the time. That's not the case with the Flyers, and that's not the case with the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have pretty good defense, and the Flyers, who knows? It depends on the time and the weather. There's no reason they shouldn't eat those teams up with the offense they have. Even, with one hand tied behind their back. You take Malkin out, you still have Sidney Crosby, Jake Guentzel, and Phil Kessel. That's a pretty, setup right there. There's no reason they shouldn't be able to get a couple goals each game. If there's one game where they run into an extremely hot goaltender, like in St. Louis, what's his name? Binghamton, the way he's been playing. You run into somebody like that. Mazurek had a stand on his head performance last night. Sure, that happens. But it is consistently seeming to happen against the Penguins. And the hard part for me to understand is from a statistical perspective. They're getting shots on net. They're getting traffic in front of the net. They're getting high-quality chances. They're just not bearing them. And that's one of those things, like, it's been the reverse of Carolina for so many years, where Carolina has been a really strong offensive team, but their ability to put the puck in the net was just not happening. They for years upon years, outside of their goaltending issues, the biggest problem was their scoring percentage were so low compared to the chances they got. And the Penguins never had that problem. I can't imagine the Penguins any time where Rico Fata hasn't been a member of the team since then, where the Penguins have had any kind of issues in that way. And it's just really hard to look at the team and say, yes, this is a team that's going to compete for it all this year. This is a team that's going to take down the Goliath Lightning.
And the funny thing is, it could all happen. They could be swept in the first round, or they could go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who knows with this team?
Well, that's the crazy thing is, for me, if I'm picking, I'd much rather get the Islanders, just because I like the matchup with the Islanders, and I think they have a few more holes that can be taken advantage of, especially in a long series. I don't really want the Hurricanes. Because I think they're kind of bonded in a way that's good for teams going into the playoffs. And I think that's a scary thing to see. It's really easy for teams to bond together over something and just push through it. And the Hurricanes have that right now, and they're playing good hockey, and they're getting good goaltending, and they're playing as a unit, and they're having fun doing it, which is a really valuable thing. And you play the Caps, and the Caps are holding their own this year. They got a revamped third line now that they have Hagelin, who's been fitting right in. He looks like the Hagelin, that the Penguins acquired when they first got him. And you look at the Penguins out of those 4 teams, and it's like, well, where do we fit in? I don't think the Penguins are currently, and statistically they're ahead of Carolina, but I'm not sure the Penguins are better than any of those teams right now, with or without Malkin. I really don't think it makes a difference, but I do think they could beat any of those teams if things change. They have the pieces. Whether they deploy them, whether they perform, I just don't see it happening, but it definitely exists. I still, even with what they have, don't see them getting through the Lightning. I think that will take a Herculean feat this year, assuming something magical doesn't change with the Lightning over the next 2 weeks. Kucherov goes down or Vasilevsky gets hurt or something like that. That would be a game changer. But if they stay healthy, I have a really hard time believing the Lightning don't run through the cup this year. At least until the finals, where I think they'll either meet a tough San Jose team or a tough Vegas team or a tough Winnipeg team or tough Calgary team, and play a different type of hockey than they're used to. But with the way the East is set up, the Metro is definitely a lot more open. I don't see Boston or Toronto really giving. I could see Toronto giving Tampa a little bit more of a run for their money in the second round on that side of things. But I think if Columbus ends up playing Tampa Bay in the first round, they're just going to be cannon fodder.
It's gonna be cannon fodder. I get it. I think that the Lightning are if the Lightning play the Penguins and it's not the first round, I'm gonna say that the Penguins are gonna win that.
That's a bold statement.
Look at when they did play. Penguins were playing them pretty close. I think they did beat them once, which is I think one of the very few losses the Lightning have had this year.
Yeah, it reminds me. The thing that scares me about the Lightning is who they remind me of, and that's like the mid '90s Red Wings, where they have players who are superstars, but their entire team is just so good, and their defense is just so good, and their goaltender is so good, and it makes for and they have good coaching. I don't think they have great coaching, but I think they have really good coaching, and they have a good front office, and all of the pieces are there for them just to run right over everyone. And like I said, unless something changes, I don't think I think it would be a 4-game sweep over the Penguins if they met in the Eastern Conference. I just, maybe if they're lucky, Murray will still steal a game. But it's one of those things where I think if it comes down to it, and I think the Penguins will likely win their first round unless they match up with the Caps. But I do think they end up losing to the Caps regardless because, living in DC, I've seen a lot more Caps games than I would like.
I'm so sorry.
That's the local TV around here, and it ends up, oh, look, Caps game's on. Guess there's nothing else. And, it's one of those things where their lines are clicking from top to bottom right now. Their top 2 lines are performing. Their third line has been better than it has all season. And their fourth line is coming around. And the really annoying thing about the Caps right now is their fourth line is talented and can score. You have somebody like Burakovsky on there who, at one point, not that long ago, was a legitimate first-line winger. He was in the role that Tom Wilson is now, and they've flopped. They've switched around there, and for the most part this season, Burakovsky has struggled to stay in the lineup. But recently, something has happened where he looks like the perfect fourth-line player. He brings enough toughness, but he can put the puck in the net, and he grinds and grinds and grinds, and Connolly, and it's a really tough matchup for the Penguins if they're only rolling 1 or 2 decent lines. I just think the Caps forward unit will chew through every opportunity of Johnson on the ice. And that's going to be the downfall right there. Like, I just don't see the Penguins getting past the Caps this year. And that's a weird thing to say because as much as, last year proved the Caps can do that, and I don't really want to see a repeat of last year by any means. I just think the Caps have a much better feel of who they are at this point in the season.